Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Frankie and I'm excited because today we're going to be showing you 19 core advanced email and SMS flows for your D2C online brand. That way you can dominate not only Q4 but going forward, and you can make money in your sleep. So without further ado, let's get straight into it so you can get this game. Alright, so I built all of this on Miro, and this is just kind of like our starter flows that we like to show to any of the brands that we typically work with. We do use this framework to build and charge clients anywhere from $1,200 to $2,500 just for this service. So I'm giving it all to you for free, and if you want to receive this for free in your inbox, just comment your name below in the YouTube video or follow in the link in the description and sign up completely for free, and you'll get it in your inbox. Alright, so let's start with the basic. Right, the core four, which is the welcome series, abandoned cart, abandoned checkout, and post-purchase follow-up. So let's go right into it. So we have the welcome series, and I want to point out a couple things to you guys. So number one is you have triggers in your flows. Nothing starts unless something is triggered. That's how automations typically work. You need a trigger in order for the events to start kicking off. And the trigger for the welcome series is when someone placed an order 0 times since starting the flow and they signed up for your pop-up. So that pop-up that's on your website, you should have a pop-up. If you don't, go ahead and build one immediately so you can start capturing traffic. That pop-up, once someone puts in their email address, then you're going to essentially start sending them your email flows, right? It's pretty much in the name. But after they are triggered, they are going to be added a tag. And the reason why we want to add tags in our flows is simply because we need to know where a profile is at in any given flow. So let's just say someone is in the welcome flow. They signed up for your pop-up and we triggered them. They're going down the flow. Well, we need to add that tag to let our systems know that they are in this flow, because let's just say they added or they were browsing, right? We're going to talk about the browse abandonment flow, but they are browsing. We don't want 2 emails to intersect at one time. So the way we can prevent this confusion with the system is preventing another system from calling it if it's in this flow. Or excuse me, we're going to prevent another flow from calling this profile if it's already in an existing flow. And we only do this for specific flows that I'll talk about in a minute. But let's finish the welcome series. After we add that tag, that profile update property of either in the welcome series flow, then we just do a random split. We do like a quick delay of 2 minutes, or we do no delay. We're going to test these, and you don't have to do this, but I like to automatically go in with any clients I'm working with and just test different delays if I'm not testing the content or testing the different types of send patterns in itself. So I'm initially going to do a A/B test. It could be 1 minute, it can be no minutes, it could be 5 minutes, but I don't recommend too long, because if you're giving someone a discount code, you want to make sure they get it as fast as possible. That way that there's no friction into them purchasing your product. After that, we send them their email. So typically with the welcome flow, we're giving them a discount or giving them some type of gift in order to get them to put in their information and start emailing them. After that, we wait a day. And then we do some conditional logic. Here we do, have they purchased since starting this flow? If they have, then we skip this second email, which is reminding them to use the code and giving them a company story, to, hey, here's our social proof and here's what our customer's saying. And the reason why I want you guys to think of the welcome flow of something other than just trying to get the sale, because we're trying to train them, right? Remember the last couple of videos when I was talking about hypnosis and training? You need to subconsciously embed what your users or what your customers or potential customers should suspect of your brand. And if you're going to be doing email and SMS or any type of retention marketing, you need to make sure that they are invested not only in your brand, but they know exactly where to go to find. They need to know exactly where to find specific gifts, alerts for your brand. We then move on for another delay period, which is a day. And then we do another conditional logic there as well. Now, you can set this up automatically within your flows, depending on if you're using Klaviyo or Omnisend, that you don't have to keep calling on this conditional logic right here. Typically in a flow, you'll be able to say, if a user purchases when they're in this flow, they are allowed to exit. So you don't have to keep adding this here. In the case of this YouTube video, I had to just put these logical factors here, just that way you can understand how it all works out. But within your own ESP service, you don't have to actually do these extra steps of logic. Typically, once they purchase, they can exit. But make sure you have that set up if you don't. If they have purchased the flow, then we send them to the last bit, which is just follow us on socials. We want to continually put them in our ecosystem, so have them embedded in wherever we're at, wherever we're communicating at. Have them follow us if that's where they live. But if not, okay, but we still just want to put that out there to go ahead and follow us, because the more we can be in front of them, the further we can hypnotize them or just embed our brand into their subconscious mind, and they remember us wherever they go. If they did not purchase since starting the flow, then we can do email number 4, expiring soon. This is just a sense of urgency, a psychological factor that we want to like push a initial sale if they haven't purchased yet, because the whole goal of this welcome series is to get them to purchase. And this is especially true of ads that you spent money on to acquire these customers and they haven't purchased. So our goal is to get them to purchase within these next couple of days. And if not, then we follow up with different email campaigns or retargeting campaigns. After that day, we have that same logical expression here again. If have they purchased, yes, we already talked about email number 6. But if no, we hit them with a sense of urgency again. Your code is gone. Give them a bigger code before finishing. And again, these are all emails, guys. So these should be professional emails that you've gotten developed, or it could be text-based, founder-led emails as well if you just need something to stand up. You don't need to have the most professional email looking designs just to get started. I want to make sure you know that. The most important thing though is that you have the actual infrastructure of how these flows are set up. Once you have that, then we can start talking about how the designs look. All right, let's keep on going. I'm not going to get to all of these today, but we're going to talk about the core 4 and then a little extra sauce for you. All right, next we have the abandoned checkout and abandoned cart. These are virtually the same. The only difference is they're triggered for different instances. So if a customer lands on your website and they add something to cart, but they don't actually go to checkout, then that's when the abandoned cart is triggered. But when someone actually gets to checkout and they're literally entering in their address or their phone number, that is an entirely different trigger, and you're going to optimize for the checkout first over the carts, because the checkout is the easiest amount of money that you're going to make, because that means the customer was just there. The customer was just there at purchasing your product, but they might have got distracted, or they said they were going to get back to you and they just never did. So we just want to do that slight bump. And again, this is the email flow. We do have our SMS flow over here, but we won't touch on that because that's a little bit more simpler, just because we don't want to bombard them with SMS compared to emails, because that is what I like to call a sacred channel. Let's get back to the abandoned checkout. We haven't been in the flow the last 7 days. So we want this trigger. We want this filter of this trigger, because we don't want to constantly be emailing customers or potential customers when they abandon their checkout, because then they're going to get annoyed. Then we're going to train them to not essentially look at their emails, and then we're going to be ending up either in spam, we're going to be unsubscribed, or they're just going to avoid us wholeheartedly, and we're not going to convert on any customer. So we want to be a little bit more cautious with how often we trigger the abandoned checkout. So we want to say they haven't been in the flow in the last 7 days. Typically that is the sweet spot of what I see for most brands, because customers may come to shop once or twice a month, and if your brand has a shorter life cycle, even more. So we want to be very careful with how often we're sending out the abandoned checkout. The next filter for the trigger is they placed order 0 times since starting the flow, and then they received an email 0 times in the last 24 hours where the abandoned cart, where the flow equals the abandoned cart. That's just a little bit extra precaution if the filter has missed on here. Remember this profile property update tag. We're gonna make sure we add this to let our system know that this customer is in the abandoned checkout flow. Don't mess with them unless we explicitly say mess with them, unless we change up our flows, or unless we tell our own campaigns, hey, we want to message these people. Again, just ways we can identify where profiles are at in any given space. Then we do that classic conditional split. I just like to do these tests here and there just to see. It's a simple A/B test that we can just implement immediately to see how customers react to our timing of these emails. I have the basics starting out between 30 minutes to an hour of when they abandon their checkout. You can do shorter or you could do more. And then I have it separate. I don't have these actual delays going into one email, because when we do that, we're not accounting for each email and how it affects them. When we just send it all into one email, that essentially means we're just delaying them and we're not tracking that data or that A/B test effectively. So we need to have those two emails that are exactly the same. That way we can track exactly the performance of each one. Then you wait 3 hours. Your order, you send them out an email that says, hey, your order is about to expire. Again, this could be professionally designed, or this could be a founder-led text-based email if you're just getting started. Then you wait anywhere from 20 to 24 hours, and then you send them down another split again. Have they placed less than 2 orders? And the reason why we want to do this is because if we're sending out a discount, what you're going to see here, if they have placed less than 2 orders, we're going to give them a discount in order to get them to purchase, right? But we can't keep doing that every time a customer is abandoning their checkout and they bought 5 or 6 times for us, because then we're just giving away free money. So we just want to add in this conditional logic. That way we can filter out on people who are reoccurring customers consistently. That way we know they're going to purchase again. We don't need to give them a percent off if we know they're going to purchase, and so we can collect more cash. Then we remove this profile property update in the end, just to let the system know, hey, they exited out of this abandoned flow and they can insert into any other extra flows if needed. I didn't talk about that here in the welcome flow 2. We do have that remove profile property tag as well. Abandoned cart is essentially the same. The trigger is just different. The abandoned browse is just a flow of when a consumer or potential consumer of your business lands on your website and they start searching. They might actually do a search, or they might actually go to a product page and they haven't actually purchased. They just left abruptly. You do want to make sure you have flows in there that accounts for those people. That way you can communicate with them if need be. But I would be very precautious with how often you communicate with your browse abandonment audience, because it can start adding up on the amount of emails that you are sending out every month if you have 50 to 100K audience visitors. And also I want to highlight that for this flow in itself, you can see here that we make sure that we add in our triggers. So if someone is in a specific flow, as you can see here, they added to cart 0 times since starting this flow, meaning they aren't in the abandoned checkout flow, or excuse me, the abandoned cart flow. We want to make sure we're not cross-pollinating with different flows. That way the user or profile isn't getting annoyed with our emails and we're actually hurting the training that we're doing for them. We have a very important flow called the win-back flow, and this flow is important simply because you need to have a specific product lifecycle win-back flow. So for every product that you have, I recommend having a win-back flow for that product. So if you sell hair products, let's say your product lifecycle is 60 days, you definitely need to trigger a win-back flow between 45 to 50 days. That way you can start getting these customers to come back and purchase without them having just to randomly end up on your website again. No, you want to communicate with them, and especially through the channel like an email or SMS, because they're such cheaper channels compared to trying to recapture them with ads. Next, we have our post-purchase flow. And this one is important. You just don't want to have your basic Shopify post-purchase flow, because you're not really accounting and using the best tools in the industry in order to get some people to come back. I like to use the post-purchase flow in order to improve your deliverability. Also to maybe opt in into a subscription, or number 3, maybe to give you a review. That way you can get them first before they actually get your product, just in case something bad happens between the time you ship and the product's delivered, or even after they receive the product. You can get all that positive feedback back now rather than later. And also you do want it later, but it's good to have more reviews rather than none, right? And then also more positive ones rather than none. All right, moving on into the post-purchase flow. This flow is not your order confirmation flow. Instead, this is once someone places an order, we're educating them and or trying to go for any upsells here. And we want to make sure we're not doing this every time they purchase when it's within the week. So that's why we're going to be very cautious with our filter for our trigger here, and have this only when someone hasn't been in the flow in the last week. Typically, if they are coming back to purchase again within the same week, we don't have to send them this flow again. simply because they might have forgot something and we just don't want to keep on annoying them. So as we send them down this flow, we have this conditional random split. Again, just a quick little tester, A/B test. And we're going to give them an email. This is like my nice little tactic I like to do to increase your email deliverability of confirming your address and get them to reply. Now, this is not a, we're not really trying to get their address. Like, they already submitted their address when they went to purchase, right? However, here's the trick here. The trick is when they reply to your email, we're tricking the servers to think that this is a conversation between us and the customer. And then that will make us seem a lot more trustworthy when we go to email them again in the future. So by them responding, which over 90% of the time they should always respond because they're trying to get their product that they purchased from you, and we're doing it in such a short period of time that they will see that we sent that email and they will respond. So a nice little deliverability hack that will boost our deliverability for that specific profile that purchases, so we are able to send great amounts of emails to them in the future. Moving on into the next email. Again, this whole section is pretty much the same as the right section. The left is the same as the right. We want to track the 1 minute flow the same as we would track the 5 minute flow. But in order to have the different performance numbers separate, we need to just recreate and duplicate these flows, okay? Moving on, we're going to go into a 30-minute to 1 hour, just a random 50% A/B test again. And we're going to send them the next email of, hey, this is your last chance to add to your order before we ship. And for this hour delay, we're going to be doing the same thing. What we're doing here is trying to get them to increase their average order value. There are a few tools that you can use to essentially have your order ship out after a certain period of time if you're using like a 3PL or things of that nature. But if you have it in-house, you can have this and not have any additional app connected to your Shopify store, since you are the one packaging the product whenever you want. But you should have some triggers and some delays set up, whether it's through an additional Shopify app or whatever you have with your 3PL app on your Shopify, if you're doing any type of drop shipping too as well, to send out that entire order after a delayed period. That way you can have that order all in one if you're doing something like this. We'll have a conditional split, again, just a random sample, and we'll send them either to our product lifecycle A or product lifecycle B. So what does this mean? This means that we're going to have our different products, and depending on the product, we're going to send them down a completely separate flow. So if we have another product, let's say you have shampoo and they purchase shampoo, but you also have a conditioner product, we're going to send them down the conditioner product flow. That can be educational on a complementary product, which was the conditioner, or it can be through a different oil, which could be product lifecycle B. We want to make sure that we send them relatable products in this post-purchase flow. And then we also do it in a way that we're educating them and letting them know how it matches with the existing product that they purchased. This flow can get very intricate as we would build this out, if I'm being quite honest with you. But for the case of this video and just for you setting up basic flows, you don't need to have different product life cycles and different flows for those product life cycles built up. And if you don't understand what I'm talking about with this product life cycle A and product life cycle B, I'll definitely make another video if I'm not getting through clearly to you guys. All right, as we move along, let's move past some of these. You know, you have your VIP flow. It's very simple. After a customer has purchased either a certain amount of times with you, or they reached a certain level of revenue that they spent with you, then you will put them in this VIP flow. This non-engaged flow is also very important, because if a profile is not opening up your emails, we want to suppress them. Now, Klaviyo automatically does this after a certain period of time, or if they hard bounce. But in our case, if they haven't opened in 180 days, we want to automatically move them into a segment that we will call the non-engaged 180 days. And then we will want to see if they will engage with us before we completely suppress them, okay? And this is just how we keep our list clean. That way, when we go to clean our list every quarter or every 6 months, most of it is done for us because we already been auto-suppressing this audience. Next, we move into the cool stuff. So this is the other flows that once you are doing over 100K per month, you're for sure going to want to implement, unless you're doing subscriptions, then you can do that right now. But let's go ahead and look at some of these. So initially I had these locked when I was selling this as a lead magnet, but you guys get this completely for free. All right. Now, if you're running paid media, we have these specific flows right here. I'm only going to go through one just because this video is getting long. You want to make sure that you're re-engaging your inactive audiences. So remember that auto suppressing of that audience. You just don't send them into the gulag to make sure that they're never contacted again. No, we can avoid our email address getting hurt and start retargeting these folks. So how do we do that? Well, we set up an automation, or we connect Klaviyo or OmniSend with your meta ads or whatever type of ad platform that you're running on, if they have that connection. And we create the segments in your Klaviyo, and then we connect it with that ad platform, and then we send it to it. So in my case, I highly recommend using the segment number 1 that I have. So they haven't opened an email in the last 120 days. The other segment, they've been suppressed if they haven't opened an email 180 days. If they haven't purchased in 45 plus days, or any of your product life cycles that you care about, and any other segments that you will want to target, make sure that you send to try to re-engage that audience and remarket to them. And definitely do that through Google or Facebook ads. You can do TikTok or whatever ads where your customer lives at, okay? And then you will want to send this as a custom list to target those people exactly. I don't know too much about doing lookalike audiences. However, I am more familiar with custom audiences, and whenever we are tracking people on our website, so whether they're browsing or not, I'll make another video for that. We are building and sending a retargeting list to Google in itself, and also Facebook. Another flow that I want to talk about is remarket to anonymized users. So this is exactly kind of what I just talked about before with that previous flow, but we're using a specific software for people who land on your website. So people that may have clicked on that ad and landed on your landing page, but they didn't sign up for any type of emails or SMS, and they didn't like add to cart or didn't purchase your product. What happens to those users, right? Well, either you spent money on them and they just go nowhere, or you actually get their information. So we use a software on my brand, ETP Tech, called OpenSend, and this is built for D2C online brands. And basically they de-anonymize visitors. So when visitors land on your website, you have no clue who they are. They're pretty much IP addresses and maybe a couple of other weird metrics that I don't understand. But when we have OpenSend set up on our website, you can use another tool like Revenue Row or retention.com, but OpenSend's a little bit more affordable. Essentially, what it does is it uncovers that user, gives you their personal email address, and then you can send that into Google or Facebook, and you can start marketing to them. So they're wondering, how the hell did these people find me? Well, it's because you have this tool that can identify who these people are that are visiting your website and not purchasing and not signing up, and you can remarket to them, and you own the data, and it's first party data. It's just not you sending off data to Facebook and you never know what that data is. No, you actually know who that person is. You have their email address and their phone number if OpenSendRetention.com or Revenue Row discover that for you. It's pretty cool, and we've already captured over a couple of hundred users that visit our website but haven't signed up for our pop-up just by installing one of these tools onto our website. And I'll definitely show you what that looks like a little bit later. All right, as we go through this is just exactly kind of what I talked about before, where we create that automation from that provider to go to maybe our email service provider, our SMS provider, or even our ads platform like a Google or Facebook. But you only want to make sure you apply this to your desired landing pages and or segments in order to like throttle that spend, because that stuff can get very expensive. I'm talking about $1,000 to $5,000 just for a couple of thousand people uncovering that information. And the reason why it's so expensive is because it's first party data. You own that person as soon as they come in and they land on your store, because they landed in your real estate, so you have their information. As we continue and we go to the direct mail campaigns, shout out to Adonis for showing me this flow himself. And just to mention, he didn't build out this exact flow, but he did tell me about direct mail and how D2C ecom brands are using it to capture more revenue from their customers. So for this flow, you want to make sure that you're a brand that's doing at least over $1 million a year, because if not, you're just going to be wasting money on this type of spin where, yes, you might be getting revenue from it, but a majority of your dollars could be better spent going towards ads and email and SMS mostly, okay? Direct mail is for people that's more established and they're wanting to diversify their revenue channels, because maybe their ROAS is starting to shrink or just level out because their ad spend is well over 50 to 100K per month. And as you know, if you've been in the space for a long time, as your ad spend starts to grow, your ROAS actually starts to drop, and it's not directly correlated. So you have to diversify your revenue generating channels. So for direct mail, you want to use something like a Postpilot. Postpilot is well known in the space, and you can connect it to Shopify and your email service providers like a Klaviyo. That way, if something triggers in your website, on your website, or within any specific flow, you can call on this direct mail provider of Postpilot. All right, and you can set up your triggers, and your triggers again could be any specific flow, or if they enter a specific segment, and then you can send that direct mail based on triggers. I don't go into any specifics here. This is just this basic video, and I just wanted to introduce this to you guys. So let me know if you want to see a video on this specifically. And lastly, we do have the subscription flows. I'm going to save you guys your ears for this, but if you want to view the subscription flows and go a little bit more in depth on how you could implement not only subscriptions into your business, but also find a way to prevent churn in those subscriptions and make sure that you're educating the audience. That way they're going to come back and purchase more. Please subscribe to this video, like it, share with a friend, and then also sign up in the link below to get this completely for free delivered in your mailbox. And you can also find the SMS converting flows, and that's the 6 additional flows that you can access that is very similar to the core 4 that I talked to you about earlier in the email, but just a little bit less when it comes to SMS, because we have to be very precautious of how we're sending out to people in their SMS. So that's it for the video, guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, guys, because I'm going to be dropping videos almost every day on the weekday to make sure that we can get the word out there that back-end ecosystem marketing is the way forward. And if you're going to be running ads, you need to make sure that you have your back-end ecosystem set up. I'll see you guys in the next one. You already know, stay safe and stay dangerous.